When her plane gets hijacked, this woman has to reveal that she's built different. I'm gonna need a new pair of pants. We start off with 3 planes flying over a body of water and then soldiers running like they're ready for battle. Given all the commotion, things seem urgent. A soldier's now briefing the commander about what's going on. There's an aircraft they're monitoring. They think there's bad people up there. They also think the captain and the co-pilot have been clapped. They've put snipers in strategic positions, and a man is now giving instructions to someone flying a plane. If that person had never flown a plane before, then they did a fantastic job with landing it. I won't lie. Anyway, now the snipers are trying to take out the alleged bad guys, but nobody has a visual on him. While they're trying to figure that out, the soldier interpreter tells them that the bad guy is talking about explosives and wants to ignite when it's safe. A boy then comes out from the plane, and the snipers are ordered not to shoot because he's unarmed. So they go and retrieve the boy. Next, they notice movement inside the plane, so the commander talks to the man and instructs him to climb into the pilot's seat, put on the headset, and put his hand on his head. But the guy is now saying that he's not a bad guy, that he, in fact, is injured. But the commander doesn't want to hear that noise. He says he'll only help him when the passengers are released. Sounds fair, doesn't it? You'll soon find out it's not. The commander now takes a break from there and goes to see the boy who was retrieved from the plane. Naomi, a woman working with the police, is talking to the boy and trying to get information about what happened in the plane from him. But does this face look like it's ready to say a word, young woman? Next, a newscaster talking about airline stock numbers and all that stuff while we pan to a bald-headed woman putting on a wig in front of a mirror and breathing like she's nervous. Next, we see the little boy from the plane at the airport, and apparently he's checking in all alone. He says his mom will come later. I know for a fact that I could never have gone to the airport on my own at that age. I still don't. What a lad this boy is. Anyway, his mom happens to be that bald-headed woman, and apparently she's suffering from cancer. Very sad. Man, we've got all this AI making art. When is it gonna cure cancer? Anyway, the boy calls her while she's on the phone with her doctor, and he's telling her he checked in the luggage all on his own. Next thing, she's at the airport. She meets her son, they buy a basketball, and they're ready to board. Just before they do, she goes to the bathroom and drinks something that's making her look like she's having, the time of her life. And then she injects another liquid into her chest. Cancer medication? I'm starting to think not. Outside, her son is bouncing his ball around and giving his new friend a little lecture on how the rotation of the earth affects daytime and nighttime. Immediately after that, he gives him a lecture on how an American doctor can help save his mom. Okay, professor, you're preaching to the choir here. This guy is a scientist. They finally do their introductions. Little boy is Elias, and the scientist is Farid. Elias has no siblings, and his favorite thing in the world is dragons. At this point, his mom comes out and Elias introduces her to his new friend, but she doesn't seem very interested in making friends. She takes Elias away. Sigma mom? Now they're in the plane. Some guy stopped when he's trying to put his luggage in another passenger's overhead compartment. He moved over to put his luggage in a different compartment, but the nod he gives to another passenger is very suspicious. I'll be keeping my eyes on these two lads. So we're about to take off. An air hostess goes up to the cockpit and gets the order of the pilots. While she's off to get their coffee, some creepy passenger hits on her, but she quickly transfers responsibility of the passenger to a guy who is, you know. By the way, we find out here that the air hostess likes the co-pilot. No surprises there at all. We're now mid-air. Elias is sleeping while his mom is just getting back to her seat after taking whatever she took in the bathroom. She's really trembling, but she's now going through some beautiful old family memories, and that sort of calms her down. In one of her memories, she, her partner Nikolai, and Elias are playing around in the snow. In another, they're all on a road trip. They experience car trouble, and the man goes off to get help. He never came back. I see. Classic dad going for milk moment. Nadja, Elias's mom, snaps back to reality as a man is now making trouble inside the plane. He's asked to sit by a steward, but he refuses. 2 passengers intervene, and are you surprised that the men who nodded at each other earlier are part of it? Anyway, to my surprise, those guys are actually the good guys. Apparently, they're air marshals, and the entire commotion was only a ruse to get them killed, and the steward is in on it. One of the men is stabbed, another is held at knife point, while a woman who didn't even stand up is clapped with a pillow and her gun retrieved. The revolver is put in between a magazine and handed to some guy. The guy who clapped the woman then comes and says, "It's done." So the steward stabs the air marshal first in his eye and then repeatedly in other parts of his body like a psychopath. He comes out to address the passengers covered in spaghetti juice. We're now very frightened. I mean, who wouldn't be? To make matters worse, he pulls out a gun and then his partner joins in to bully the passengers further. They're all instructed to head to the back of the plane and take nothing with them. You think you've been bamboozled already? Wait till you find out that the co-pilot is also in on the hijacking. He claps the pilot and lets the leader of the hijacking team into the cockpit. They dump the body of the pilot down the hatch and the leader makes a video officially announcing the hijacking of the plane on TikTok. Basically, they want money. All passengers are instructed to keep their heads down and their hands on the seats in front of them. But 8-Ball, the steward hijacker, picks an interest in Elias's mom and is raising her chin with his pistol. But he leaves her when his boy calls out to him. The hijackers have now reprogrammed the black box and they're turning the aircraft around now. Elias is now showing his mom where they can hide, but she's not interested in that. Meanwhile, his friend, Farid, is called by his full name and is asked to stand up. He's dragged to the front of the plane and Elias uses that opportunity to run to his hiding spot. His mom follows him, but 8-Ball spots her. He puts 3 bullets in her, causing her to fall due to death. Or so you think. Like that wasn't enough, the psycho went to put Elias away from his dying mom and forced him back to his seat. Elias is now weeping. Poor boy. Although the leader's not exactly happy 8-Ball did what he did, he decides to use it as a lesson to the passengers. We're now taken back again to Elias, his mom, the broken down car, and his missing dad. Relatable. His mom is looking for Nikolai and she follows traces of his blood all the way down to a basement where she finds her permanently asleep husband. She was even chased by the vampire who clapped him, but luckily for her, the sun came out and the vamp ran off, but not before it bit her. Now that's exactly where she got her cancer from. Anyway, we're back in the plane and she's alive. She coughs up some spaghetti sauce and gets up and moves to the compartment her son suggested they hide in the first place. I guess dying is all it took for her to realize it's not a bad idea. While she's down there, a passenger is reading something from a paper in front of the leader of the hijackers who is recording, but the passenger can't read Arabic, so he passes the paper to another passenger who could only stutter. So Farid took it from him and read it pretty fluently, but he added a part at the end telling anyone listening that they were forced to read the message and actually weren't part of the hijacking. Unbeknownst to him, the leader speaks and understands Arabic, so he clocked what he did and shot the first guy because of that, before asking Farid to read it exactly how it's written in the paper. Two of the hijackers now go down to the compartment where Elias's mom is hiding to get some stuff, but they don't see her, in spite of the dogs so desperately trying to rat her out. But after one of them leaves, she attacks the other guy and offs him with her bare hands. She's gone full vamp mode now. She's about to inject herself with her medicine when she hears the leader asking the guy she just clapped for an update via the walkie-talkie. She keeps the syringe and goes to take a bite from the guy's neck, then sets it up to make it look like the dog did it. What the dog doing? She's back up in the plane as the hijackers are leaving. They find the body and think to themselves, what was the dog doing? And then they make the dog unalive. Elias is excited to see his mom, but there wasn't much time for catching up. They had to find someone to turn the plane around. An aerospace engineering student volunteers as tribute. Farid tells him that the hijackers made him and the other guys read a statement, so it's all a setup to make it seem like they're the terrorists. But the creepy guy who was sitting on the air hostess at the beginning comes out and says that that's not actually what they are. They just want to influence the stock market and make billions from it. Another thinks it's the election they want to influence. I'ma be honest, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. One of the hijackers figures Elias's mom is alive and they all come back up to get her. The creepy dude wastes no time to rat her out and they head straight to the cockpit. When she refuses to open the door, they threaten to start shooting the passengers one by one. The leader claps the first one. The next one was supposed to be a little girl, but Elias's mom was not having it. She goes full Morbius mode, bursts open the door, and went straight for the leader's neck. You could say she is out for blood, cause she's a vampire. I'm sorry. But that one was not enough for her. She went around looking to give the other hijackers a little hickey. When they all run away, she returns to the leader and stabs him. The little girl who she saved ran away from her and she goes to instruct Elias and the makeshift pilot to never open the door no matter what. 8-Ball went through her bag and figured that she's a vampire and went down to tell the boys. That causes a huge argument, as you can imagine. She's a vampire? How could she be a vampire? Does this mean Morbius was actually a documentary? All those kinds of questions race through their minds. 8-Ball suggests they bring the sun to her while she's up injecting herself with her medicine. Quick throwback to her and Elias. She takes a sip of some iced juice and finds herself screaming at her son, so she goes to the mirror and takes out her canines. Next thing, she's taking a run late at night and goes into an abandoned apartment where she finds an old man, the father of the vamp who turned her. He wants to get his lick back, so he shoots at her with his handgun, but she escapes. The second shot jolts her back to the present day when the hijackers are coming back up for her. Elias sees them coming on the screen in the cockpit and goes to get his mom, but it doesn't exactly go well as 8-Ball shines some ultraviolet type flashlight on her and she goes unconscious. He then takes some blood from her using a syringe and moves to kill her, but just before he does, her son is right there pointing a gun at him. 8-Ball tries to get the gun from Elias and then mistakenly fires at the window, and you know what happens when a window is cracked on a plane. Press your job. Everybody's reaching for an oxygen mask now. Our makeshift pilot, however, didn't have a mask, so he collapsed because he died. The hijackers now have control of the plane again. Elias is nearly unconscious, so his mom hands him over to Farid. Oh, by the way, remember the creepy dude who hit on the air hostess? He nearly got clapped after bullying a fellow passenger to use her oxygen mask. Karma may just be real after all. Nadja goes after 8-Ball, who has now secured himself in a bulletproof vehicle. She shot at him several times and tried to stab him through the windshield, but as she could not reach him, she had to watch him inject herself the blood he got from her. But while he was transforming into his very own Morbius, Nadja just set the car on fire. That fire takes her back to her encounter with the vamp's dad who was trying to clap her. She eventually claps him, though, and his last words were, "You have the evil within, you cannot control it." After offing the old dude, she takes some medicines from his fridge and sets the place ablaze. Her eyes while the building was burning is a sight to behold, can't lie. She's back to present day and the plane has now been stabilized, but the fire in the hold causes another problem, so they try to get to the bottom of it. They're down there, and when the tallest hijacker tries to check on 8-Ball, he gets a vampire hickey for his troubles. He's now a full vamp and he's attacking his own guys. Meanwhile, with the passengers, a guy who used to be in the army takes charge now and tells everybody to go grab a a weapon. Like about 3 of them are now trying to clap Nadja, but she ends up overpowering all of them. She was so close to biting Farid when her son told her not to, and she stopped. She gets up and returns to her original mission of stopping the hijackers, and this time Farid joins her, but he gets bitten by 8-Ball. In order to stop him from turning, Nadja quickly hacks off the bitten part of his hand. There's a lot of chaos going on in the plane now. Vamps trying to bite people while the majority are just frightened. They manage to steady the flight again while a doctor is now tending to some injured passengers. The co-pilot is back in the cockpit and they're now in contact with the guys from outside. Creepy dude is offering the doctor $1 million to save his life, but she tells him his money can't save him now. She's still helping him anyway, but when she goes to get some medicine from the first aid box, he crawls away and goes to open the door to the cargo, where 8-Ball was locked in. He begged 8-Ball to bite him just so he wouldn't die, but the vamp was not interested in him at all. This lad couldn't pull a air hostage, and still couldn't even pull a vampire. Pathetic. Anyway, 8-Ball goes straight for the soldier and digs right into him like Thanksgiving dinner. That causes another chaos on the plane, and this time, everybody's trying to get into the cockpit to get away from the vampire, but the folks inside can't open the door because it's just not wise. Nadja's ready to give up her life to save her boy, but Elias is not having that. He uses the flashlight of his mom to weaken her for a bit and goes through the narrow tunnel to try to get the remote of the bomb from the leader. His flashlight was his weapon to get through the vamps, but he drops it on his way back after getting the remote. He's now stuck. His mom makes Farid promise to take care of Elias before digging into the co-pilot's neck and then running out to save her son. But to get him, she had to fight 8-Ball. And I know he's a bad guy, but I'll be honest, he won that fight. He seriously out-morbed her. Anyway, Elias presses a button on the remote which blows open a door and allows his mom to push 8-Ball out. But he didn't really fall out. He comes back and grabs Elias's leg, trying to pull him out. He nearly succeeded, but Farid steers the plane a little and the sun does its job. Nadja is still unconscious though. She needs blood to wake up. So Elias cuts himself and feeds his blood to his mother. Okay, award for best son of the year goes to this kid for real. His mom wakes up but keeps pushing him away in a scene that will tear your heart to shreds. Then we finally get back to Elias and Naomi. He finally talks. He asks her where Farid is and she replies that the police have him under control in the plane. He then starts shouting that they need to get Farid out of there before sunset to save him from the vampires. But she just keeps saying that Farid is part of the bad guys and all of that. Just listen to the kid, man. They eventually inject him with a sedative just as the commander returns to base. His orders? To wait. He's talking to Farid now. Obviously, the commander is convinced he's one of the hijackers, so he gives orders to kill, despite Farid shouting that the vamps will kill them all. The soldiers get into the airplane and retrieve Farid just before he blows up the plane. At the same time, Elias is being wheeled into an ambulance. While in the ambulance, he tries to stop them from entering the plane, but obviously, they ignore him. Farid also warns them, but they ignore him too. Guess you can say they deserve what they got after they made their way into the plane regardless. Meanwhile, Elias heroically jumps out of the moving ambulance and runs toward the aircraft shouting Farid's name. He doesn't find him though. He finds his mom, who is irredeemable at this point. So he made the difficult decision to blow up the plane just while she was charging at him. He presses a button on the phone that was in his teddy bear all along. They finally let Farid go and he goes to meet Elias. They both hug. After seeing what just happened, the commander orders for Farid to be uncuffed and let go. And then I'd say they lived happily ever after. But obviously, this is not exactly a happy ending for anybody. So just the end. Moral of the story? Better than Morbius. Also, subscribe. I can't hit 1 million without you guys.